We have start. Nous avons le départ actuel.
This project has been in the works for the better part of 3 years. Has, I think, taken some years off the lives of our engineering staff, but we're pretty excited with the results. The feedback from the key riders that have been involved in the development process has borne out our intent in terms of the ride quality, the stiffness, the efficiency, the kind of reduction in watts required to maintain speed.
You know, in the beginning I thought, well, maybe that's only like a pure race bike, you know, like for a Pro Tour team, for the liquid gas team, and for like the super fast pros in triathlon. But after riding it on rough Coloradoan roads, I live in Colorado Springs together with my wife, I figured out you can tweak it however you want. So if you just put the armrests higher and yeah, you can set it up however you want. So you can make it a real Tour de France race weapon, but at the same time a bike which brings you as fast but also as comfortable as possible from transition 1 to transition 2.
It's the oldest cliche in the book to say you start with a clean sheet of paper, but in this case we really started with a concept that was all based around this whole concept of narrow is aero, because frontal area plays such a huge part in the low kind of human speed aerodynamics. All you have to do is kind of sight right down the top tube of this bike. It just basically disappears. I mean, you could hide it behind someone's hand if you needed to. Well, I mean, I'd be sort of remiss if the first thing I didn't address was the wacky-looking seat post, because that's the thing that's been the most commented on in all the rider forums and everything that, you know, the spy shots that have gone out. The wacky-looking seat post is been made as narrow as humanly possible while still staying within the UCI 3:1 regulations, which isn't a problem for triathlon, but because we also are a co-sponsor of the Liquid Gas Cannondale team, there would have been a mutiny if we had created a tri-specific bike and not done something for them as well. But what works for the Liquid Gas Cannondale team also works aerodynamically for the triathlon world. So by making this as minimal a seat post as possible, we really we enable ourselves to reduce that frontal area, especially that crucial area where there's a lot of turbulence coming around the legs. There's a lot less interference from the seat post. The other key innovation is in the head tube, whereby there is no steer tube going through the head tube on this. What this allows us to do is it allows us to minimize the diameter of the bearings as much as possible, so that we get it down to the real physical minimum required to support the loads that we put on the frame in testing and in real world riding. And everything is designed to channel the air really fluidly past, so minimal disruption to the air that you're moving through. We looked at a lot of different designs as we moved into this integration of brakes into the frame. A lot of the things that we looked at were extraordinarily aero, but they were a pain in the ass to deal with, right? They had covers, they had springs, they had cams, all these different things that allowed it to be super integrated, but required a small team of experts to adjust in this era of you know, all different widths of rims. What we decided to do was do an integrated brake of our own design, but one that's exposed, so that if you do need to adjust your pads, or if you do need to adjust your cable tension, or you need to adjust your spring tension, it's right there, it's open, and it's you know, out there. When we first set out of this project, everybody was like, oh, we want to make the most integrated, the most aero, the most crazy thing you've ever seen. And then reality began to sit in a little bit. We said, wait a minute, a lot of our sponsored triathletes have component sponsors, and we don't want them to be limited. We were able to, with our system that we co-developed with FSA, the fit range is actually greater than our existing Slice, and it can be adjusted by anybody with 5mm Allen and even the most basic sort of mechanical skill. So the vertical compliance is almost identical to the existing Slice High Mod, which, as you know, evidenced by athletes both past and current, and their ability to come off the bike and run exceptionally well, is a huge advantage.
RS stands for rocket ship. So, well, it looks like a rocket ship. I love rocket chip.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, funny, and what it stands for. And it's kind of a unique design a Cannondale created. And yeah, I think that there's a bright future between this bike, Chrissy, and me. I hope that many victories will be achieved on that bike.
Gonna